Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In this new series, we are going to build a complete to-do list application using Django. By the end, you will have a fully functional application where you can add, complete, and delete tasks. You can even undo the tasks. We will set up our development environment and create the basic Django project. So let's dive in. The first thing that we need to do, let's see what we are going to build. So this is the to-do list that we are going to build. You can add your new tasks here. So for example, let's have our first tasks to be buying groceries. Like that, you can add it. Visit my aunt, add it. So in this to-do list, you can add your tasks, you can complete your tasks, you can undo your tasks, you can delete your tasks, like that. So this is what we are going to do. Having said that, now let's dive in. Prerequisite and the setup of this project. You have to ensure that you have Python, at least Python 3.8 installed in your machine. And you need to understand some basic knowledge of Python, whereby you understand the variables, functions, and classes. You need to have a code editor. In this case, I'm using VS Code, of which that is the code editor that I'm recommending. Then you need to understand you need to open your prompt or command prompt and be ready. In this case, I'm going to use this command prompt, the terminal of VS Code. Let's start creating virtual environment. First of all, we need to create a project directory. We have created. Now let's change to our project directory. So cd Django to do app, hit enter. Let me clear the terminal like that. Okay. Now let's create the virtual environment. So Python 3.13, 3.14, that is my Python version that is involved. I'm going to use that exact version to create my virtual environment. VNV, and let me call my virtual environment .env. Hit enter. Give it a few seconds to create that virtual environment. Once it has finished creating virtual environment, the next thing that we need to do is to activate this virtual environment. So if you are on Windows, this is how you will activate this virtual environment. Remember, the virtual environment name is .env. So if you are on Windows, this is how you activate your virtual environment. .env, and then use the / and then scripts, and then / activate. I want you to notice that on the scripts part, the S is the capital letter. Okay, so this is for those who are using Windows. Type this and hit enter. You will be able to activate your virtual environment. For those who are using Mac or Linux like me, I'm using Linux Debian distro. This is how you will activate. So source, and then we give our environment name .env bin, and then activate. Hit enter. You will only understand if your virtual environment has been activated if you see something like this. If you see something like this, then your virtual environment has been activated. So why are we using virtual environment? We use virtual environments to keep our project dependencies isolated from other Python projects. Let's install Django, because we are going to use Django to create this project. So install Django. Hit enter and give it a few seconds to install. Once it has installed, let me clear the terminal. The next thing that we need to do, we need to start a new Django project. Okay, so to start a new Django project, it's simple. You type Django admin start project, and then we give this project name. So we'll call it to do project, and then we have that dot at the end. The reason why I'm using this dot, this means that create this Django project in the current directory. So hit it enter, and it will create this Django project inside the current trajectory. You can see directory now you can see our to-do project has been created. And now this is our structure. We have our main folder that is containing our Django project, and then we have a virtual environment, and then we have created a to-do project. If I open this to-do project, inside to-do project we have init.py file, we have SGI, settings, URLs, and WSGI. Let's run the development server. Let me clear this first, and then say Python manage py run server. Now the server is running. We can confirm that if I open on my browser and go to the local host, you will see the installed worked successful. Let me close this server. The next part, once we have successfully created our Django project and we have confirmed that it is running successfully, the next thing that we need to do is now we need to create a to-do app. So to create a to-do app is very simple. You will do Django admin start app, and we give app name, which is to do. You can notice when you are creating the project, this part was start project, and when you are creating an app, we are using start app. Let's hit enter. You can see the to do app has been created. In Django, a project can contain multiple apps. Our to do functionality will be its own app in this case. Now what we need to do, we need to update our to do project settings file, this file. Okay, so we need to add our own new app to the installed apps here, and we add our newly created app called like that. The next thing that we need to do, we need to create a to do model. So we will go here. Next we'll open our do application and open models.py file. Let's create our model. Task is our model. Let me create this. So we'll say class task, which will inherit from models.model. I want you to notice the model, its M is capital letter, and then we need to define our fields. The first field is title, which inherits from models.character field. So it takes characters, and we have to define the max length to 255. The next we need to have a completed models, which is a Boolean field. So it accepts true or false. So Boolean field. And then let's define a default. So the default goes to false. And then we have the time it was created. So created equals to, this will be a date time field. So models.date time field, this one. And we say auto now add equals to true. And then now we need to return the string representation. So if string text in self, and then it returns the title. So return self.title. This is return, not returns, like that. Models. So models defines our database structure, and then we have this field, character field, which is char field. This is for text, and then we have the Boolean field. This is for true or false, and then we have a date time field, which is for timestamps, and then we have this auto now add, which is equals to true, which automatically sets the creation date. So if you create that task at that time, it automatically picks that date, timestamp, and adds it. Now, once you have created your models, you need to do database migration. So to do database migration, you need to say Python manage py make migrations. Hit enter, and then so when you create this, you will notice that the migration files have been created. So when you run this command python manage.py make migrations, it creates a migration file. So here you can see we have migration folder that has been created, and we have this file that has been created. Okay, you can see it. And then now we need to apply these migrations to the database. To apply the migrations to database, you need to run python manage py migrate. Okay, so that those tables that were being created can be created in our database. So migrations are how Django tracks and applies changes to our database schema. So in this episode, we have set up our development environment. We have created a new Django project. We have built our task model, and then we have set up the the database. Okay, you can see the database has been created and we have migrated we have migrated our migration files. So in the next video, we will explore Django's amazing admin panel and learn how to add, edit and delete tasks through it. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. So the GitHub link is in the description. You can find all the code we wrote today there. Our project, and we created a task model here. Now models here, we created this task model. Today we are going to explore one of the Django's most powerful feature, the admin panel. This will let us add, edit and delete tasks through beautiful web interface without writing any extra code. What we'll cover today is how to register our task model with the admin, create a super user account, explore the admin interface, customize how our data looks in admin, and then add some simple task. So let's start by registering our model in the admin. So once we have created this model, we need to register it in the admin. So let's open our admin.py file. Let me close these other files. And then here, we need to import our task model from the models file. So we'll say from models import the task, like that. And then we need to register our model here. To register our model, we'll say admin.site.register. And then we pass in our model, which is task, and that is it. So the first thing that we did was we imported our task here from the models file, and then we used this admin.site.register task. So this basically tells Django to include our task model in the admin panel. So this is the most basic way to register model. We will enhance it later. Now once we have done that, the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a super user so that we can have a way to log in into the admin interface. So to do that, let me close this server first. Let me clear it and then close this as well so that you can see well. So we need to create a super user. To create a super user is very simple. Run python manage.py create super user, like that, and then you hit enter. We need to supply in with the username. In this case, I will say admin, and then the email, I will say admin@gmail.com, and then pass in the server, the password, so you can supply in any password that you want and repeat the same password. The create super user. So this super user that we just created has full access to the admin panel. What do I mean when I say full access to the admin panel? He has all the rights to create, to delete, to update, and to add. We chose a secure password. So in my case, this is for development, but it's not good habits. So you need to choose a very secure password. So you can see here, you didn't see the passwords as you type. That is normal. Now let's explore admin panel. So we need to run the server, say python manage.py run server, like that. And then we need to open our browser and then go localhost, like that. And then we need to add /admin, hit enter. So we need to log in this. So we need to log in with the username that we used. So we used admin and then the password you used when creating that super user. Now we are logged in. You can see our application to do and the tasks are here. And then we have these two other tables that have been created, the users and the groups. Okay, these are the authentication and authorization app. That is the layer. So the next thing that we need to do, let's add some tasks. So to add some tasks, we need to click here, add, okay? And then we give a title of these tasks. Task, we say groceries, and then we hit. So you can see we have fields like title and completed. So this field title is a text input because it is a character field. When we were defining it in our models, you can notice it is a character field. So it only takes the text. And then we have the completed field, which is a checkbox because it is a Boolean field. And then we had that created, which is auto field and read only because the auto now add equals to true, which we had defined inside our model, this one. So now let's add some tasks. So this is our first task, buy groceries. Let's save it. Let's add another task, say learn Django basics. Let's add it. So this is how our task views will be shown. Notice how we have this learn Django basics. So we managed to get this thanks to this method. So if I delete this method, you will see it will start bringing task object 1. So let's try that. Let me refresh this. You will see now it is getting tasks object 1. So to fix this so that we can get a string representation which is readable to humans, so we need to include this, the string method, and then we return self.title. So if we go back here and refresh, you'll be able to see now we can see the title of the task. We need the next step that we need to do. Let's customize this admin panel. Okay, so let's customize the admin display. So we need to go back to our admin.py file, and then let's now start customizing it. So the simplest way you can do to customize this, we need to create a class. So we'll say class and say task admin, and it will inherit from admin.modeladmin like that. And then we need to have a list display which will control which fields are shown in the list view. So we define list display, and this one will be a list. We want to show the title. We want to show those tasks that have been completed. We want to show the time those tasks were created, like that. And then we will pass that class here. We'll say comma here, and then say task admin. If we go back to our admin panel right here and refresh this, you will be able to see now we have the title, we have the completed. So for this have not been completed, so let's say we have completed by grocery task. So I'll check this and save. You can see we have now a green check and then the time they were created. Let's keep on customizing this admin. The next one, we need to have a list filter. We need to add filters to the right side, which is great for filtering completed, incomplete tasks. So to do that, we need to say list filter like that. And then we need to define this list filter. In this case, let's use the tuple, and we'll say we need to filter completed tasks and we need to filter the timestamps. So we'll use created. So if we go back to our admin panel and then refresh it, you can see we have our filters on the right side. So you can filter by completed tasks. So if I click yes, I should only see those tasks that have been completed. If I say no, if I click no, I'll be able to see only tasks that have not been completed. And then you can clear all the filters. If I clear all the filters, I get all the tasks that are present in our database. And then the next thing that we need to do, we need to have a way you can search a specific task. So we need to add a search bar to find tasks by title. So to do that is very simple. You say search fields and then equals to, use a tuple, and then here we will say we want to search this field called title. Okay, and then you need to add the comma. The reason we are adding this comma is because this is a tuple. Okay, if a tuple has only one object, you need to add the comma. Okay, so those are the basic rules of Python when it comes to data structures and data structures. So this is a tuple. So if we go back here and refresh this, we will be able to have the search bar here. So we can search by title. Let's search something that is not there. Let's say we search something like teacher and then click search. You see we have 0 tasks because there is no task with the title teacher. But let's search a task that is present like buy, because we had a buy groceries, and then search. You can see it returns a task with that title. So you can add more. So let me show everything. You can delete a task. You you can delete a task. You can decide to delete one task, or you can select all tasks and then come to the action and then select delete and go. So in this case, let's delete one. So let's say we want to delete this. You will select it and go to the action, and then you select the delete selected task and click on go. You will see here, yes, I'm sure, and that task has been deleted. You can as well edit the task. So if you click there, you can just come here, buy groceries in grocery store, like that, and then you save. You can see we have updated our task. So there are some admin panel best practices. The admin is for site administrators, not regular users. So we will build a separate interface. For users in incoming episodes. The admin is perfect for content management and database maintenance. So there are common problems and solutions. If you can't log in, make sure you created the super user correctly. If tasks don't appear, check that you have registered your models in admin file, like this. And then if you get errors, check the migrations are up to date. You can perform Python manage.py migrate as well. Amazing. In this episode, we have registered our task model with the admin. We have created a super user account. We have added sample tasks through the admin interface. And then we have customized how our data displays. Now we have a way to manage tasks, but this is just for us as administrators. In the next exciting episode, we will build the actual user interface that visitors will see. We will create views, URLs, and templates to display our tasks on a real web page. Don't forget, all the code in these GitHub repositories is linked below. If you are enjoying this series, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Django content. We built a beautiful to-do list that displays tasks from our database. But right now, it is just a pretty list. We can't actually do anything with it. Today, we are going to change that by adding forms that let users create new tasks, mark them as completed, and delete them, all from the main interface. So let's run the server. First, we need to activate our virtual environment. So to do that, we need to activate it. So we'll be source. So let's run the server. So Python manage.py run server. Okay, and then let's open our browser. So this is what we are going to build. We are going to have these interactive features like you can complete a task, you can delete a task, you can add a task. Let's say create admin as our tasks and then add. Okay. So this is what we are going to build. We can delete a task, we can complete a task, we can undo a task. So this is what basically we are going to build in this episode to make our to-do list application to be interactive. So this is where we left off. You can see in the last episode, all we did is to list all the tasks that have been added from the admin. But in this episode, we are going to create that functionality where the user can create a new task, can mark them as completed, can undo them, and can delete them all from this interface. So what we will build today is to create a form to add new tasks, is to handle form submission with post requests, add complete and delete buttons for each task, learn about CSRF protection for security, and make our app truly interactive. So let's first of all take you through about forms and post requests. So let me explain the HTTP methods. We have get for viewing pages like this current one, and then we have the post that we will be using for submitting data like forms and buttons. So get is for reading, post is for writing to the database. So let me explain what is CSRF. So CSRF is cross-site request forgery protection, which is a Django security feature. It prevents malicious websites from submitting forms on your behalf. So Django makes this easy with the CSRF token tag. Now let's go back to our VS Code and let me close all this. And then let me close this as well. Close the server, close this. And then we need to go back to our to-do application and go to the views. So here we want to update these views so that we can create the task form. Okay, so we need to do some importation. Let's import redirect. Let's import a redirect. So this redirect will help us redirect our application after we have submitted the form. So let's now handle form submission. So we'll say if request dot method equals is a post method, and then we need to handle form submission. So we want to say title equals to request dot post dot get title. Okay, and then we need to do a basic form validation. We need to ensure that this title is not empty. So we'll say if title, and then we will say task dot objects dot create. Okay, we want to create it, so title equals to title, and then we want to get the created time. So we say created time, created equals to, we need to capture the timestamp, and we are going to use time zone dot now. Okay, so we need to import that time zone. So here we'll say from Django.utils import time zone, not time scene, so time zone, like that. Okay, and then once we have submitted our task, we need to redirect to clear the form. So once that is successful, then we need to do a redirect. So we will return redirect. Then we need to return to the main page, which is task list. Okay, and then from there we need to handle here we are handling get request to display all the tasks. Okay, so here let's add let's order by. We can say dot order by. We need to get the latest ones at the top, so we'll say negative created. Okay, and then we have the context. We pass that context to our template. So let me explain the changes that we have done. So first thing that we did, we imported redirect to redirect after form submission, and then we checked here, if the request method is post for the form submitted, and then we have request dot post dot get title. So this gets the data from our form. This one gets the data from our form, which is the title, and we did a basic validation. Only here what it means is only create a title if it is not empty. Okay, that is why we say task.object.create title equals to title, and then we added this order by created, which shows the newest tasks first. Okay, now once we have done that, we need to update our template tasks list. So let me open this template task list. So we are going to have that form. Okay, so we need to add that form. So I'm going to add that form here just below h1 tag. Let's have that form of creating or adding a task. So here let's open let's have a div, and then let's have another div, and then let's have now our form. So the form, we will have the action, we will have the method. So the method equals to, we will use the post method. Remember, we are writing to the database. And then inside our form, we need to have a div, and then let's have our input. Okay, so we will have our input with the type text. Let me close this. So input with the type text, and then let's give that input a name. So name of the input equals to title. Okay, and then we need this input to be a requirement. You cannot submit this form without if the input is empty, you cannot submit this form. So we need to add this, say required. Okay, it is a required, and then we need to have a button that helps us to submit. So we'll say button. Okay, and say add task, and this button, it has a type of submit, like that. So let's check out how it looks before we style it. So if I come here and refresh this, okay, we need to run the server first. So let's run that server. Okay, so let's run the server. So the server is running, and then we go to our browser and refresh this. So you can see we have this input, which will be a text, and then we have this button with the type submit. So let's try to submit a task. Let's say learn loops, and then add the task. Okay, so we are having this issue of CSRF token because in Django you have to have this CSRF token for protection, for security purposes. So we need to add this in our form. In every form that you do in Django, you have to include CSRF token. Just right below this, we need to include that CSRF token. Say it will be CSRF token, like that. Now let's go back here and then let's try to refresh. Okay, let's open a new one. Say localhost, and then let's add learn loops. Okay, and we add a task. You can see our task has been added. Okay, let's add another one, eat breakfast, then add. You can see another task has been added. That means our form is doing a really good work. So let's go back here now, style this so that it can look more professional and interactive. So here we'll say class. Remember, we are using Bootstrap, so this will be a card, and then we want to have a margin bottom of 4. And then the second div, this will be a card body. Now it will be class card body, like that. And then let's style our form, not form. Form is okay. And then we have CSRF. Now let's style our div inside our form. Okay, so we'll say class equals to, and then this will be an input group. It will have a class of input group, and then let's style our input. So here after the name, we need to have a class. This is a form, so we will have a form control class, and we can as well add a placeholder for this. So we can say let's add a form for a placeholder. So we'll say placeholder. It will be add a new task, like that. Okay, and let's style our button. So this will be a class. This is a button, so we will have a btn, and then let's give it a color. So it will be a btn primary color. Okay, so if we go back here and refresh, you can see now we have this very nice form of submitting our tasks. So if we say let's say learn Python loops, okay, and then add, you can see it is working very nice. Okay, so let me explain some of the things that we have done. So in this form, you can notice we have a method called post. So this is to tell Django this form will submit data. Okay, and then we added this CSRF token, which is required for security in post forms. So if you have any form that has the method post, you must add the CSRF token. And then we have the name of our input. Remember, I added this name of our input, which matches with the with what we are looking in the request.post.get, which is the title. So this is the data that we are looking. And then I've added this required attribute, which does the client-side validation to ensure that you cannot submit an empty input. Let's try that. If I try to submit an empty input, I get this, please fill out this field. So that is the work of required. Now we need to add more, we need to add some buttons as well. So now let's create new views. First of all, we need to add complete, delete, and undo buttons. Now let's create new views for this action. So let's go back to our views here. We need to create another 2 views. So we need to create a complete task view and a delete task view. So let's go back here and say div complete task, and this complete task will take a request, and then it will take a task ID. Okay, we'll supply in a task ID argument, like that. And then we need to get the task. So we are going to use get object or for. So we need to import that here. We'll say get object or for. So this will be get object or for. I will explain what this does. So here we need to get the task using that. So we'll say task equals to get object or for, and then we supply in the model, which is task, and then we supply in the ID, which will be task ID. So basically here, what this does is it it checks if that task exists in the database, and if it exists, then it gets that task. And if that task that does not exist in our database, then it returns a 404 error, which is the task not found. And then now we need to toggle completion status. So we need to say task completed, like that. Completed equals to, we'll say not task dot completed, like that. Task dot completed equals to not task completed, and then we need to save it. So task dot save, and then we need to return to our main page. So we'll say return redirect, okay, and say redirect to our main page is task list, like that. Okay, and then we also need to create another view to delete a task. So we'll say dev delete task, and then this one as well will take the request, and then task ID, because we want to delete a specific task, so it will be task ID. And then we need to get the task first, so we'll say task equals to get object or 404, and then we pass in the task, and then we say ID equals to task ID, like that. And then we delete that task, so we say task dot delete, and then we redirect to our main page, which is return redirect to the task list, which will be task list, like that. Okay, so let me explain these views that we just added. First of all, we imported this get object or 404. Like I said, it gets the task or show 404 if not found, this one. So it will get the task, and if that task does not exist in our database, it returns a 404 error, which is not found. And then we have complete task. We have this complete task, which is a toggle. It toggles the completed status. And then we have the delete task, which removes, we have this delete task function, which removes the tasks completely from our database. And remember, both functions redirect back to the task list. Okay, so you can see this. Now we need to update our URLs for these new views. So we need to go back to our URLs here, and then we update it. Okay, we have added 2 new views. So here we'll say path, and then we will have complete. So this will be complete, and then we'll pass in the ID of the task. So the ID will be an integer, and then we'll say task ID. So this one will be inside something like that, and this as well. Okay, so that is our first path, and then we will have to call the views. So views dot task complete, views dot task dot, let me see the views. So the views is complete task. Yes, so we'll say this one will be views dot complete task, and let's give it a name, and name equals to complete task, like that. Now let's add another path or delete. So we'll say path, this one will be delete, and then we'll pass in the task ID, which will be an integer, and then we pass in the task ID, like that. And then we call in the view, so we say views dot, let me confirm the views here. The view is delete task, so we go back here and say views dot delete task. Let's give it a name, say name equals to delete task, like that. So we have those. So let me explain these URL patterns. So we have this int task ID, which captures the task ID from the URL, and then, for example, in this case, it will have something like complete ID 1. Okay, something like that, which will complete the task ID 1. Okay, let me remove this. Now let's update our template, this template here, so that we can add those action buttons. Okay, so here we need to have let's scroll down till right below this div. Okay, right below this div, we need to add those action buttons. Okay, so we need to open a div, say a div, and then inside that div we need to have a href tag, okay, for the first button. Okay, so in this href tag, within that href tag, we need to have a conditional check. So we'll say if, we'll open and say if task dot completed, if that task is completed, then we can undo it. So we'll say undo, and then we need to have else. If that task is not completed, then you can complete it. So we'll say else complete, and then we close that if condition will be end if. Okay, just like that. So let's check this out. So if we go back here and refresh, you can see we have complete. So these are the tasks that have not completed. If I click complete, nothing happens because we have not added our href. So let's go ahead and add our href. So here at our href, we need to add our URL. So to add our URL, you use Django template engine and then say URL, and then we call our URL complete task, and then we supply in our task ID. So it will be task.id. Okay, so let's try that again. So let me refresh this and then complete. You can see it has crossed and now we have undo. Okay, can click undo, goes back to complete. Okay, so we have that. Let's style that button so that it can look more professional. So let's do that. Let's go back here, and then first of all we need to style this tag. Okay, so we need to say class. This is a class and this is a button, so it will be button. And then let's give it a color. Let's give it a size. First of all, we'll say button. We want this button to be small. And then we also need to have a conditional check so that we have different colors when the button has been completed, and the button for undo to have different colors. So we need to have that conditional check. To do that, we say okay, so we'll do this. So class button small, we want a small button, and we'll say if task dot completed, if task dot completed, then we want to have our button color to be yellow. So to do that, we'll say inside the quotes, we'll say button warning, like that. And then if else, if that button has that task has not been completed, then we'll say else. We want the color to be success. Okay, we want it to be a success, so we'll say button success, like that. And then we close our conditional check by saying and if, like that. And then we also need to have me to be on. Okay, so let's check that out. If we refresh here, we have that button, but something is not adding up. Let's check it. Why it's looking like that? Should not. So we have the class button is small. Then we have that task dot completed button is one. Okay. So okay. I see now we have this. So we need to remove this. Yes, we need to remove that, and then we need to remove. That's it. Okay. I see href. No, this must be there. Let's remove this. We have a class button small, and then we have if task dot completed button is warning else. Okay, and then we have and if. So button is warning else button success and if, and then we have me one. Then we have you see, okay, there is an issue here. I see. Alright, formatted. That one should look like that. If task dot completed and do else complete. Okay, so let's try this again. Refresh. Very nice. So if we completed this task, you can see we have a yellow undo thanks to button warning color. Okay, thanks to this button warning color. So we are done with that. Now we need to add another button to delete the task. So we need to say anchor tag. We have href, and then inside this is our delete button. So we need to add a URL. So we'll say URL delete task, like that. And then we need to supply in our task ID because we have to delete a specific task. So delete task ID, and then let's do this and say this will be delete. Okay, now we can style this as well. We can say so class, we want this button to be red. So we can say class, this is a button, and then we want this button to be small, and then we give it a color of danger, which is a red color. Okay, let's check it out. So if I refresh this, you can see we have delete button. So if I click delete, it has been deleted, but we still need a confirmation to let the user know that he's about to delete, and once you delete, you cannot recover it. So we need to add on click. So let's go back here, and then we need to have another, we say on click, on click like that. On click, we need to return a confirm. So we'll say return confirm, and then we give it a message. Okay, here we give a message like, are you sure you want to delete this task, like that. Okay, we return a confirm message. You want to delete this task. So if we go back here, let me refresh and let's try to delete one task. So if I click delete, you can see I'm getting this. Are you sure you want to delete this task? If I confirm yes, now that task will be deleted. Okay, so let me explain the button logic here. Okay, so these two buttons have href. For example, we have this URL complete task ID, which generates the correct URL. So and then we have the button. This here button changes the color and the text based on the complete status. And then we have added another feature here, which is on click, which confirms for delete, which prevents accidents. Okay, and then we have button small on these buttons, button small, which makes small buttons, and ME1, which adds the margin. Okay, so security considerations that we have done here. Important to note about get and post requests. In real application, destructive actions like delete should use post. We are using get for simplicity in this tutorial. For production, we'll use forms with the post for complete and delete. Okay, amazing. We transformed our read-only to-do list into a fully and interactive application. We now have a form, an amazing form to add new tasks. For example, here we can say new task. We can add it, say click, it can add and you can see. And then we have complete and undo functionality. So if I click complete, you can see it as placed a line through the task, and then we have undo functionality. You can do back and then complete, something like that. And then we have a delete with confirmation. So if I click delete, then I get this confirmation, and then if I give OK, it deletes that product. And then as well, we have proper redirects and user feedbacks. But there is one more thing. Our app works, but the code could be more Django-ish. In the next episode, we will refactor to use Django Forms for better validation and Django's class-based views to write less code. We will also add user authentication for each user can have their own private to-do list. So GitHub link is in the description with all today's code. If you are learning a lot, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. See you in the next episode.